Hello, welcome to Azure Cloud Channel. In this module, we will talk about Azure Database for MariaDB. We'll talk about what is Azure Database for MariaDB, what are the main features of Azure Database for MariaDB, and we will learn how to adjust the performance and we will learn how to scale up. And I'll show you how to monitor and set up alerts. And after that, I'll show you how to create a database using Azure Cloud Shell and MySQL Workbench. And I will run some DDL and DML statements. Let's talk about what is Azure Database for MariaDB. Azure Database for MariaDB is a relational database service in the Microsoft Cloud. Azure Database for MariaDB is based on the MariaDB Community Edition database engine version 10.2 and 10.3. Azure Database for MariaDB works with popular open source frameworks and languages and features tight integration with Azure Web Apps. We can use it with popular content management apps such as WordPress and Drupal for a fully integrated experience that supports your specific application development needs. Azure Database for MariaDB provides the database management capabilities that we need, like automatic patching, automatic backups, and built-in monitoring and security at no extra cost. Azure Database for MariaDB delivers built-in high availability with no additional cost, predictable performance using inclusive pay-as-you-go pricing, scaling as needed within seconds, secure protection of sensitive data at rest and in motion, automatic backups and point-in-time restore for up to 35 days, enterprise-grade security and compliance. These capabilities require almost no administration. They are provided at no additional cost. Azure Database for MariaDB can help us rapidly develop our application and accelerate our time to market. We don't have to allocate precious time and resource to managing virtual machines and infrastructure. We can also continue to develop our application by using the open source tools and platform of our choice. Choose the right MariaDB server option in Azure. With Azure, our MariaDB server workloads can run in a hosted virtual machine infrastructure as a service or as a hosted platform as a service. PaaS has multiple deployment options, and there are service tiers within each deployment option. When we choose between IaaS and PaaS, we must decide if we want to manage our database, apply patches, and make backups. If we want to delegate these operations to Azure. When making our decision, consider these two options: Azure Database for MariaDB or MariaDB on Azure Virtual Machines. Let's talk about Azure Database for MariaDB. This option is a fully managed MariaDB database engine based on the stable version of MariaDB Community Edition. This relational database as a service hosted on the Azure platform falls into the industry category of PaaS. With a managed instance of MariaDB on Azure, we can use built-in features that otherwise require extensive configuration when MariaDB server is either on-premises or in an Azure virtual machine. When using MariaDB as a service, we pay as you go with options to scale up or scale out for greater control with no interruption. Let's talk about MariaDB on Azure virtual machines. This option falls into the industry category of IaaS. With this service, we can run MariaDB server inside a fully managed virtual machine on the Azure cloud platform. All recent versions and editions of MariaDB can be installed on an IaaS virtual machine. In the most significant difference from Azure Database for MariaDB and MariaDB on Azure Virtual Machines offers control over the database engine. However, this control comes at the cost of responsibility to manage the virtual machines and many database administration tasks. I will log into Azure portal and I will show you how to create a server Azure Database for MariaDB. And after that, I will use Azure Cloud Shell to run some DDL and DML statements. I'm in the Azure portal now. I will go to search. I'll just type for MariaDB. Under the services, we see Azure Database for MariaDB servers. Let's click on that and click on Add. Now we need to create a new resource group. I will just say MariaDB resource group. And we need to choose the server name. We need to choose a unique name that identifies our Azure Database for MariaDB server. I will just say test sample server 01, and the server name is available. And we need to choose the location. Choose the location that is closest to our users or our other Azure applications. So here I'll just choose East US, and version I'll just choose this 10.3, and compute and storage. Let's click on configure server. We can always scale up or down. So I will show you how to do that once we deploy this server. So here I will just choose compute tier basic 1-2V course. This is for workloads that require light compute and input performance, and this is general purpose balanced configuration for most common workloads. And the third one, memory optimized, best for workloads that require a high memory to CPU ratio. So I will choose just the basic one, and I will keep it vCourse for 1. And I will just say that I will just keep it to 50. And I will talk about storage auto growth later. Let's keep it enabled at this moment, or we can disable it. And backup retention period, so we can always change it. So now let's apply these changes. Now we need to create an admin assigning account to use when we are connecting to the server, or create an admin username and password. Let's review this. And everything looks good. The location, credentials, resource group, and server name. Let's deploy this MariaDB server. It takes few minutes to complete. Now the deployment is complete. I will just go to home and go to resource groups and click on MariaDB resource group. And here we see the Azure Database for MariaDB server is available. Let's click on it. Now I will show you how to scale up and scale down. Just click on the pricing tier. So let's talk about what is this storage auto growth. When the server reaches the allocated storage limit, the server is marked as read-only. However, if we enable storage auto growth, the server storage increases to accommodate the growing data. For servers with less than 100 GB provision storage, the provision storage size is increased by 5 GB as soon as the free storage is below the greater of 1 GB or 10% of provision storage. For servers with more than 100 GB of provision storage, the provision storage size is increased by 5% when the free storage space is below 5% of the provision storage size. Now we can enable this and just click on apply. Now the deployment in progress. Now the deployment is completed. I will go to resource. I will go to pricing tier. And here we can see that the storage growth enabled. And now I will show you how to set up Azure Database MariaDB alerts. We can receive an alert based on monitoring metrics for our Azure services. The alert triggers when the value of a specified metric crosses a threshold we assign. The alert triggers both when the condition is first met and then afterwards when that condition is no longer being met. We can configure an alert to do the following actions when it triggers. Send email notifications to the service administrator and co-administrators, and send email to additional emails that we specify, and call a webhook. Okay, here we can just click on new alert rule, and here we can choose a select condition. Let's just say that I'm just picking some sample condition, configure signal logic, done. And 5 minutes, and we need the threshold one value. And done. And then here we need to add an action group. I'm not setting up any alert in this module, but we can set up alerts using these options. I will go back to the server, and now I will go to the connection security. Now I will enable this option, allow access to Azure services. Click on S and save it. Now I will open a Cloud Shell. Let's click on the Cloud Shell and create storage. Successfully updated the connection security. So at the Cloud Shell prompt, we can connect to our Azure database for MariaDB server by entering the MySQL command line. To connect to an Azure database for MariaDB server by using the MySQL utility, I will use this format. MySQL, this is the host name. Here you can see that server name and the user. So here we can see that server admin login name. Now enter. Now we need to enter the password. Now I'm successfully connected to this server. Let me run the status. So I will open it in a new terminal. The status command helps to check the server status. It is up and running. Now I will create a database. Create a database, quick start database. command not found. So I think I didn't connect in this Cloud Shell. So I think here I connected. I'll just enter create database, quick start database. Just enter. Now here we can see that query okay, one row affected. Now I will check or show databases. I will run this command. So we have 4 databases available: information schema, MySQL performance schema, and quick start database we just created. Now I will show you how to connect to MariaDB server using MySQL Workbench, and I will run some DML statements. I open MySQL Workbench and click on MySQL connection, the plus icon, and let's just say the connection name MariaDB for Azure, and here we need to enter the host name. Let's just enter the host name, and then we need to enter username, Azure user at test, and Azure user at server name. And let's enter the password. Now I entered password. Let's click OK and test connection. So now we get error failed to connect to MySQL at test sample server MariaDB. So now I will go back to Azure portal. I will copy this IP address. Let's click OK. Let's click on configure management and click on next. I'll just take this IP address and I will go back to Azure portal. I will close this Cloud Shell and I will go to connections, connection security, and click on add client IP and just enter this IP and save the connection. So now here we can see that updating the connection security settings. Once this update is completed, I will go back to MySQL Workbench and try to connect to the server. Now this is completed. Now I will go back to MySQL Workbench. Now I will enter password again. Test connection. Now I'm able to log in here. Connection warning, just click on continue anyway and click on OK. Click OK. Now I will click on this MariaDB connection and continue anyway. Now I'm in SQL editor. So now I will run some DML statements. First I will create a table, then I will insert the data, and then I will run some update statement. I will use this quick start database that we just created. Let me use this database. Now I will clear this command. Now I will create a table, the table name called inventory, that has ID, a name, and quantity. So first I will run the command drop table if exists. So now I don't see this table exist. Now I will create a table. I will create inventory table. Now I will insert the data into this inventory table. Now I inserted data into the table. Now let's see what data we have in the inventory table. Now we have ID 1, 2, 3 and name banana, orange, apple and quantity. Now I will update quantity and where ID equal to 1 in the table. So I will update the table and set quantity is 200 where ID equal to 1. So once I run this statement, we will see banana quantity equal to 200. Let's select this command and execute it. Here now we can see that updated data, banana quantity 200. Now I will run a delete statement. Delete from inventory table where ID equal to 2. Okay, so now we are deleting this row, complete row. So now we see that updated data, we have only two IDs, ID 1 and 3. So we just learned how to connect to Azure Database for MariaDB by using MySQL Workbench, and we query data by using the SQL language. So far we learned in this module what is Azure Database for MariaDB and which MariaDB options should we choose, and what are the main features of Azure DB for MariaDB. And we learned how to create a database using Azure Portal and how to connect to MariaDB server using Azure Cloud Shell and MySQL Workbench. And we created table, inserted data, and updated some data and deleted some records. If you have any questions on this Azure Database for MariaDB session, please post in the comments. If you like this video, please subscribe and share the channel. Thank you.